This is the Three Skeevers podcast.
All right, episode 15 of the Three Skeevers podcast with Grim from Grim's Forge Gaming and myself, Icy, with Icyfire Gaming. How you doing, Grim?
Good. How are you?
I am super excited for Mid-Year Mayhem this week, and right before that begins, we have a special guest here, Mr. Fuzzy Jugernaut. How you doing, brother?
And we lost him again.
And we lost him already. Well, I guess we'll just keep trucking along when he gets back, but
I'm excited for Mid-Year Mayhem. It's going to be good.
yeah, I'm glad that we're starting to do war games now with our new guild, I guess we'll say it, the Imperial Sewer Council. And it's a lot of fun. We did some fights last night, and it was a really awesome learning experience where, just getting some practice in and, I guess figuring out what's the appropriate bar setup and stuff for the play style or how I like to play, and also figuring out what sets are best for what type of situation. And even we were watching the footage afterward, and it was really eye-opening that we did a 2v2 and I'm using transmutation, which gives 1400 crit resistance, and then I spoke to the guys afterward. I'm like, were you guys using Malakath Band? You're like, yeah, we both were. I'm like, well, good to know that my set was completely nullified, so that was pretty cool. So now I know that, hey, transmutation's not the end all be all. I can use something else. So
Well, that, and I think you really start to see everybody's strengths and weaknesses when you make it more intimate, right? It's a 4-on-4 or a 3-on-3, and you can really start deep diving into everyone's strengths and weaknesses and kind of go from there.
yeah, absolutely. Fuzzy, are you back?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, put it to my default. I took it off my Yeti X and put it on something else. I was like, what's going on here?
Awesome. So we're already into the episode. So hey guys, this is Fuzzy Jugernaut here. How you doing, man?
Doing good. Sorry about the little mix-up right there. I appreciate you guys having me on the show, and I like what you guys do. So pretty awesome.
Awesome, thanks. We were just talking about Mid-Year Mayhem. Are you pumped for it? Are you excited about it? What do you think?
Yeah. No, I like Mid-Year Mayhem, but it gets a little hectic in there. The servers get overcrowded and get a lot of problems. But I think overall it's fun. I switched a lot of characters to blue, so I'm gonna be definitely trying to level some of them up within the ranks for PvP. They're all like level 14s right now and stuff in the ranks wise.
Nice. Do you primarily play on DC, or do you have, I guess, tunes on AD and EP that you also play on?
So I have 18 characters, which I know is a lot, and I primarily, for the last 5 years, I played on EP really only. I have some AD and some DC, but I never really played on them. But lately on PS4, man, it's gotten pretty bad. EP runs a lot of the stuff, and I just can't get good clips or fights. And so I decided to go to DC and just pretty much switch half my characters over there, getting a lot better fights. We're outnumbered, and we don't have a lot of keeps inside of I play in Black Reach a lot, and then mostly I play in IC actually. But when I go to Cyrodiil, I play in Black Reach because Grey Host is just too much of a lag fest.
Yeah, I totally get that. And I know when I started playing with Grim a year ago, he told me that he was all on EP, so then majority of my characters I made after that were all on EP. But the last several months we've come to the conclusion that if we're gonna get the fights that we want, we're gonna have to start representing the other factions too. And honestly, I think we kind of hold allegiance to the sewers, and to keep it clean, we're gonna have to jump or switch factions just to get the fights that we want. And I'd say we're having a lot of fun doing it. What do you think, Rim?
Yeah, it's been a blast. I mean, being able to jump on whatever faction and go wherever the fights are. Like, I used to be, I'm EP, and if there's someone in our sewers or, causing problems, we're going to go get them. But when you got 40 other EP running out of the base, it's like time to switch to DC or AD and and clean these guys out.
Yeah, there's got to be a
Yeah,
balance in all things.
Yeah, it gets bad, man. Sometimes, like, EP has a lot of werewolf packs in it too, and like, I have nothing against werewolf. You know, I don't need to go into that whole thing. If you guys want to know my opinion on it, then I can answer that. But,
Wait,
I mean, I have nothing.
what's wrong with werewolves?
I personally don't like werewolves, but I at the same time like it's not that I don't want to see them nerfed or anything. Like we get plenty of nerfs, and that's half the problem with the game is that like people complain about stuff and then it gets nerfed instead of buffing other things to maybe level stuff out. They nerf stuff and then it becomes like you remember when Werewolf was really good in the beginning, or actually it was not the greatest, but then I can't remember which patch it was. It was 3 years ago. Werewolf was really good, and then people complained about it, which I thought was dumb. And then they nerfed the damage it was doing and all that stuff. And then it was, I don't know, not in the greatest shape for a while, and then came back up and down. And that's been with a lot of classes and characters. But I don't really have a problem with Werewolf, honestly. Like I love running Werewolf in Maelstrom Arena and the Bet arenas and all that stuff. And I'm sort of conflicted on the subject because one aspect of it is Werewolf's really nice to go farm in IC, and I have some buddies that run in Werewolf groups that run in IC, and they like to be on there. They're not trying to like zerg people down and stuff, and they want to farm Telvar. And honestly, Werewolf's awesome to go in IC for and farm Telvar bosses and have fun with your friends. But it does get annoying when you get like a group of 8 to 10 werewolves constantly chasing you and zerging you down and stuff like that. It gets a little annoying, but that's why I try to create builds that can counter some of that stuff. But there's no way you're going to beat like 8 werewolves.
Yeah, I was watching Kirchhoff's stream a couple nights ago. I like stopping in and seeing what's going on the PlayStation, and yeah, he was when I tuned in. He was being chased like 2 or 3 werewolves, and they were insufferable. They would not stop, and just kept on him. But ESO, Illinois Valley I think it was Illinois Valley. Somebody had a good comment on there, a good recommendation, and I'm not for nerfing a bunch of things either. I think if you bring everything up, we need to be able to finish people. We need to be able to kill people. So let's get all the classes in line to where they can do that. But whoever it was, they said, the 10K resistances that a werewolf gets, why don't you just change that to major resolve and the amount of major resolve? So they get it when they're in werewolf form. Instead of getting 10K, they get the 5,900 or whatever. And then the other thing was changing the heal, and maybe nerfing the heal a little bit on werewolf. He said, but if you did both those things, it would kind of bring werewolf more in line, like they'll lose about 4K resistances, but they'll gain the major resolve at all times. And then you nerf their wolf heal, because on Frostfangs, it's a 17K burst heal. That's kind of
yeah, it's insane.
Yeah,
that's a really massive heal. Yeah, and I agree. I remember actually seeing that comment. I was in I normally support his streams and stuff, and I'm in there, so I do remember seeing that comment. And yeah, he had a good point. Also, he was stacking it with Mighty Chuda and all that other stuff too. Yeah, which comes into the aspect of what you're talking about anyway. So, just getting the major resolve.
Yeah. One of the things that I like Werewolf for is performance kind of being where it's at right now, not being able to bar swap all the time or abilities not working or whatever. Werewolf is very forgiving, and you don't have to swap bars, and you inherently feel tanky on it. So that kind of works out really well. But we've been seeing a lot of werewolves running around with Crimson. I just did a video not too long ago where we ran up on, I don't even know, it was like a 5-on-5, and they were all werewolves wearing Crimson. So
yeah, no, it's crazy when they get the Crimson on them too. And like 1v1, I mean, I can kill most werewolves, but you get them stacked together in groups, man. And it's like I said, I don't really want them to be nerfed to the ground or any of that stuff. I don't care for the nerfs and stuff, but it's really what it is. It's not so much just the werewolf, it's the certain players, like you saw in the Kirchhoff stream. It happens to me often, but more to Kirchhoff because he's more well known and everyone wants to kill him in there when they're on their werewolves for some reason. And so the poor guy, I mean, they'll literally chase him across Cyrodiil and they'll stream snipe him, man. They'll literally be in IC and he'll leave IC and go to Black Reach, and they'll follow him over there and then chase him halfway across the map. And like, it's the players mainly that are doing that are ruining it sort of for the whole werewolf thing right there too. In my personal opinion, I mean, there's certain things, the heal I think should be nerfed down just a little bit or cut down a little bit. But besides that, like, werewolf's awesome too. It's fun to play. I personally don't play werewolf anymore, but in PvE I do, but I'm mainly a PvP person. So, it's just, it is what it is, but it does suck when you have people constantly chasing you down with it. It can really kill the mood in the game sometimes.
Yeah, I saw your build Wolf Splitter. Is that your preferred build to hunt werewolves with, or do you have something else that you feel's just as effective against werewolves?
That was the one I used, and a lot of the stuff I used too, like the Hunting's Rage. That's like one of the original old OG sets back in the day. And I used that along with my Eternal Vigor and all that stuff to help push the crit up, because since they nerfed crit, if you can obtain a good amount of crit, it's actually very, very viable and really strong, especially on stamina or magicka, both. But a lot of people aren't playing with crit anymore. Some are, some aren't, and it's sort of a pain to get, but I was still pushing enough damage, and I did create that build not just to fight werewolves. I've always loved spin to win. I just hadn't been on it in a long time. Like the last, I don't know, I was off for about a year and a half, came back about 6 months ago and switched my channel over to ESO. So my stamina character playing style, I haven't been on it too much. I've been doing a lot of magicka, but I've been getting back into the stamina, and that build was, to pretty much counter fighting werewolves. Now, I mean, in that video, me and my buddy, we take out a few different packs of werewolves, but I mean, ultimately, realistically, honestly, you're not going to take out like 8 werewolves, even with that build or whatever you're rocking, especially when they're rocking Crimson and everything else. Like, it's not going to happen. You'll be able to take out a couple, but pretty much I made the build, for that and just to have fun on.
Did you have something, Icy?
I think I did, but I think I just forgot what it was.
My bad. I was probably talking too long.
No, you're good. I just remembered. So I guess in terms of like, the werewolves running you down and stuff, I guess I don't want to play like devil's advocate or anything, but I feel like would you still say the same thing if a non-werewolf was running you down? Kind of like that dude that we ran into the other day, Grim, he was on a warden, and he made about 6-7 loops around that whole DC corridor there, and we were chasing him for about 10-15 minutes. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
just like he wasn't. Yeah, he wasn't I wasn't gonna say his name, but he wasn't a werewolf. We weren't, but we never gave up the chase until we were just like, okay, this guy, we're done with him.
Yeah,
So,
the thing about werewolves is that they inherently or passively are getting an extra 30% movement speed, so it doesn't cost them, a dodge roll resource or hitting bird of prey like their wings or any type of activation to move that quick. And then if you throw Ring of the Wild Hunt on them, it's all near impossible to get away from them.
Yeah, and I mean, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, I guess with that 30% movement speed, it's almost as if, say they do make that change where they get a major resolve part of their kit, it's almost like they already have Ring of the Wild Hunt in their kit too, with that movement speed passive.
Yeah, they have a permanent major expedition, right? And I don't know if you know this, but I've got a bow stam DK, and I put werewolf on it. When you dodge roll or stutter step with a werewolf that has bow as your weapon, you get major expedition. So using bow, it's not ideal, but using bow on your werewolf, every time you dodge roll, you gain major expedition on top of that 30% movement speed. And so that's pretty silly.
That's awesome, man. I actually made a Bobo DK for PvP, I don't know, months ago. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't want like werewolf to be nerfed and stuff. And werewolf's fun to play, man. And my opinion still wouldn't change. And like I said earlier, it's mainly the certain players, like zerglings, like that, like not people that just go out and big zergs, but like the people that constantly try to stream snipe you, and are constantly following you around, or like 4-man groups that are trying to hunt one person down continuously. Like, and now, I mean, if you're in IC, everything's fair game at the same time. So in PvP.
Yeah.
But like
you say that they're choosing werewolf because if they were to play another class,
that's
being carried by werewolf, right? And
exactly,
they're also toxic, so it's a combination of both. They're being carried.
And I'm still going to stay positive. I'm just saying, and I'm not going to say names, but there's a few individuals that 100% you could even ask Kirchhoff or anyone else that plays with us. Like, there's a few individuals with their names that if you put them on any other character besides werewolf, they would not even last a second. Like, not even close.
Right. I see that. We see that a lot as well.
Yeah. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with it, man. Like, and I'll be honest, like, I go against some werewolf guys that they're only at 20k health or 28k health in PvP, and they're rocking legit damage sets, and they can get killed easier than the other werewolves, but they're out there legitimately like trying to have a damage build with Eternal Vigor with whatever, and they're able to survive somewhat, but they're actually trying to like utilize the werewolf build to take people out and everything. And anyone can run whatever they want. It's part of the game, so. Yeah.
He has a saying he always says when he sees someone wearing crimson. And
what's that?
He says, "Oh, go ahead,
Icy." No, you say it. You say it.
Icy sees somebody wearing crimson, and he always says, "Hey, they're living their best life." Rocking that crimson, that crimson, living their best life.
Yeah, he's got that CC, that Crimson Carry.
Yeah.
That thing's really powerful. I'll tell you that. It's a big carry.
There is a nerf coming on that from what I heard. I haven't seen it myself. I haven't seen where they said that, but I've heard from a couple people that they plan on nerfing it. So
yeah, I heard that too, and I heard that they're nerfing the health-based heals too.
Oh, good.
Like that. Yeah, so which will take the werewolf heal and the warden heal down a little bit.
Arctic Blast, yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh man,
did you have anything, Icy?
I'm not looking forward to that warden heal nerf just because I like it a lot. But
well, you just got to get higher health now.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
60k Magden running around healing people.
Right.
Yeah, the nerds won't know what hit them.
Yeah.
On another note of the proc sets too, though, real quick, is that, dude, some of the classes are in real bad shape right now too. So like, I mean, I'm working on Magblade right now, and I'm not using proc sets, but Magblade's sort of in a rough place if you're not like pretty much ganking or going full crit. Magden's in a decent place in my opinion, but like honestly, there's a few of them, and Macro too. Like they almost need those proc sets because they're really low on the damage. And I mean, Magblade has an execute, but Magden really doesn't have an execute. Magcro, I really haven't played on much, so I couldn't say if they. I haven't really I have a Macro, but I just really haven't played it that much, so I can't really talk too much about the class. But from what my buddies were telling me, like some of them almost need like proc sets.
Yeah, I noticed that I just did an Elsa build not too long ago, and then Voldemort. So Elsa's a Magden and Voldemort's a Magcro, and I can take the exact same armor sets on both of them, switch them back and forth, and they play very similar. Like they're healing kits. There's as many heals, burst heals and hots and everything in both sides of the line. So to me, they feel very similar while they still have their class identity. They feel the same, and so that's kind of interesting. And neither one of them have an execute, and I agree 100%. Like with them, like you put a proc set on them and they feel better for sure.
Yeah, it just helps, to put that extra damage. And also for newer people coming into PvP, I mean, those proc sets are going to help them. The only thing that I have to say to people that are going to use the proc sets, though, if you plan to get any good in PvP with, your play style and learning the mechanics of the game and stuff, proc sets aren't going to help you do that. They're just going to give you bad habits. But at the same time, like to each his own. And first getting in, man, PvP can be rough for some people when they first get in there. Like, no joke. Like you can get straight annihilated and be like, I don't even understand what just happened to you. And so there's so many different areas that it can go. I mean, I don't know. It is what it is, but
Yeah. That's a good point. Like, I was just running with some friends over on the EU server, and I think I only have like 230 CP over there. There's a big difference between 230 CP and 810, let me tell you. And it's real easy to forget that when you run around on an 810 CP for a long time. But I'll go over there, and while I can get my weapon damage where I want, but my tooltips aren't similar, my resistances aren't similar, my recoveries aren't similar, and you're already fighting this uphill battle with the CP situation. And so maybe leaning on a proc set, but not, like you said, not to where it's a crutch and you don't actually learn the mechanics of PvP. So I
yeah,
agree
pretty
more.
much where it's at. It's mostly it's individual players that have the skill, but like they're just like, I don't really care. And they, like King of Games says, man, like, you paid for the game. Ain't no one going to tell you what to do and what to run and stuff. But you can't get mad if people give you a little grief about it. That's just. But at the same time, it's certain individual players that they're like, well, I just want to take the easy way out and just annihilate people and all that stuff. And that's fine, man. They paid for the game. They can play it how they want. That's, and that's completely up to them. But, it's, I don't know. It's like I said, it's to each his own. So it doesn't really bother me that much. And for meta things, like, I always try to make builds that can counter meta, and I try to utilize like stuff for people that are new and vet in the game and that are in PvP. So a lot easier to obtain stuff. It all just depends, I guess, on how you like to play, your preference and play style.
Yeah. So how did you get started in ESO? Like, how long are we talking, and how long had you played before you kind of went into the PvP realm?
So, interesting story. I played PvP, or I played ESO. I started playing, I think, in 2015 or 2016 on PS4 is where I started on. And my buddy, I actually played like Call of Duties and all that stuff. And I don't know, shooter games and other things. My buddy, I was a FedEx driver for like 6 years, and I delivered to him like all the time. And he's like, man, you got to try this game out. You got to try this game out. And hopefully people won't hate me for saying this, because I don't feel this way at all. But I was like, man, I don't play Dungeons and Dragons and all that stuff, because that's what I thought it was, like the WoW thing and all that, And he's like, man, it's not what you think. And so anyways, after 3 months, he finally bought me a copy of the game and gave it to me when I delivered to him. And so I took it home, played it, and I'm not even kidding, man. Like, at first, I was a little overwhelmed because it's a lot to learn when you first hop on a game. I never played an MMO except for maybe, I think, Destiny. And, like with the crafting and leveling up all the stuff and your characters and like the bar swapping and all that stuff. It was pretty much my first MMO like that. And I got into it, man. I was hooked. Like, there's always that one game that you play, and like there's no other PvP, in my opinion, in the world in a game that's like ESO. So that's why I've always stuck with it. But I played it for, I don't know, five years, something like that, off and on. Taking a couple breaks here and there, but that's how I got into it. And honestly, like, I loved ESO like a lot. I got 18 characters, so I mean, that says something. They're all level 810s. But when I actually first started, my buddy was telling me that Nord was the best, and I had a Nord healer, which was the biggest joke that I got laughed out of some dungeons and trials that I went into, and then I actually ended up switching them around. And I can't remember the guy's name, but he took me under his wing and helped me out and showed me, how to like min-max and do all that stuff. And I loved it, man. I love theory crafting and like coming up with builds and all that stuff. Sort of getting off topic. I apologize, but it just drew me into the game. I loved ESO, like everything about it, and I hadn't stopped playing it.
So your buddy that you were delivering to was like, I told you.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
He was always like, man, you'll love this game. Then I got into it, and like him and the few other guys that we all played with, they had all known about this game because they all played it on PC. And so when I first came into it, I was a little distraught because I came into it actually after it was like right at the end of the first year of ESO coming out on PS4. So like when all the areas were segregated and you couldn't play with DC or AD, all of them were separate, and you had to get to like certain levels before you even had champion points or any of that. You had to get like certain levels to get to certain places. So I was a little discouraged at first, but then like a month later, they did that update and changed all the stuff, and then you were able to interact with everyone and like play with people that were from different alliances and all that stuff, and just open world, like the PvE aspect of it. And then I would probably say after I got my character to, I don't know, I think I was like CP 80 or something like that, and I wanted to go into PvP, but none of my buddies wanted to play PvP because they're like, we'll get killed and blah, blah, blah. And anyway, so I went into PvP by myself, and then I was like, my eyes were just opened. I was like, dude, this is awesome. Like, you have an open world, all these castles and keeps, and you can siege stuff, and like you can play with a lot of people, or you could play by yourself. And like mostly I ran around by myself, and then sometimes I would join groups, but I liked just playing by myself. And I got my butt kicked. I mean, I don't know how many times for the first, I don't know, couple months I was in there, but I still liked it, and I just kept practicing at it and get my CP higher, and then doing trials and dungeons with friends. I was a bit of a both, but really my main PvP aspect came after about 8 months into the game. Like I was in love with the PvP aspect of it. So that's what I did, and that's what I loved.
So you said 8 months. At what point did you decide to do the channel? How did that come about?
So the channel, let's see here. So I got higher CPs, and I was in some huge guild. I can't remember what it was called, and they did trials, and everyone was always doing sets and watching Outcast stuff. But I would come up with some sets since I was a lower CP, and a lot of in PvE aspect, like a lot of it, your DPS, like a lot of it really focuses on you being able to do your rotation, not just your sets, but sets are a big part of it. But I would make like my own builds and not go off what other people were saying. And a lot of the sets were like, oh, this is still by far the best set. It's proven, blah, blah, blah. But I was able to do a lot of DPS, and I was like a lower CP. I think back then when I was doing all the trials, like a CP was like 260, maybe 300. I don't remember. But I was a lower CP than everyone, and I was hitting like higher DPS. Back when like the high DPS on a trial dummy or a dummy was like 30K or something like that. But anyways, that's just I started doing that, and then I was doing the PvP aspect too, and I was coming up with a lot of builds and doing a lot of theory crafting. And as you know, as a content creator, man, like theory crafting takes quite a bit of time and resources, to test these builds out, get them to where they're at, and go out and play and PvP with them to see if they're viable. And then, and it's not just like a few sets you're doing. You're like, I test with a lot of different sets and builds. You want to make sure you get like some of the best aspects of all what you're looking for. And my buddy was like, man, you should start a YouTube channel, blah, blah. And I didn't do it. And then, I don't know, it'd been like 2 years after that, and down the road, and my wife and buddy were like, you should just start a channel. They're like, you come up with all these builds, you do all this stuff. And like, I used to give my builds out to people, and like people would give me gold for them and stuff, but I just didn't have a channel. And then I started a channel, and that's pretty much how it went. It was just, my wife was like, you should just start one. My buddy said it too. And so I just started a channel. And if you noticed on the channel, sorry, I'm going on a little bit too long here, but if you noticed on the channel, I had a mag blade builds that I put out, like, I don't know how long ago it was. And then I was actually spending too much time into the game, and my wife was like, okay, like because I was working for FedEx at the time, so I'm like 5-6 days a week, and then I was trying to do all this stuff. I was putting all these builds and videos together to put on the channel, but it was taking up too much time. So wife comes first, and life definitely comes first. And I've never put a video game before any of that stuff, but it was getting to the point where we just weren't spending enough time together. So, and I'm an honest and blunt person, so I'm not scared. I'm not shy, like I told you guys. So I took a break from ESO and then regathered my stuff, and then I figured out how to manage my time a lot better with the game and my personal life and with my wife and stuff. And so I came back to it, and then on there's Division 2. I started back up with Division 2 stuff. Was taking off on Division 2, but my wife then came back in and was like, "You should just do your YouTube channel for ESO." She's like, "You love theory crafting." Division 2 was going down the drain, and so my eyes were like wide open. I was so happy when she said that, because I literally broke the game in half and threw it away. So I didn't have it. That's why I couldn't.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So she was like, when she said that to me, I was sort of blown away. I was like, what? She's like, yeah, just make sure you can manage it and all that stuff. And I know it sounds bad, but this game can take up quite a bit of your time. And so pretty much I hopped back on, and then I lost a lot of followers, probably 300 to 400 followers, because I switched games, which they say you're not supposed to do, but I didn't care, man. I love playing ESO, and I can manage my time a lot better with the ESO. So that's pretty much how I got back into the channel. And then I just slowly built it up from 5 or 6 months ago, from 200 followers to where I'm at now. So it's not the fastest, but I mean,
yeah, dude, that's awesome. Yeah, the work, I guess, like the work-life balance, or the video game and life balance is like super important, because I know I love playing ESO too, but half the time, like even last night after we were doing some war games, just theory crafting and talking about the fights that we got into, I think after we all logged off, I think I spent like another hour or so just on ESO Builder, just fine-tuning my build and putting some new stuff together and see what the stats are going to look like and all that type of stuff. And I like what I saw. So now, like you're saying, it's going to cost a lot of gold, a lot of transmute crystals, whatever, just to get these builds up and running, so you can go out and see how they perform. So yeah, it's definitely something. All right.
yeah, it's time consuming, man. It takes a lot. Like, it's not super easy.
Yeah, just all the amount of time you put into it, all the amount of effort and thought and heart you put into it, gold you put into it, just to turn around and have somebody leave a post, "This build sucks," or something in the comments. It's like, come on, man. Like,
well, they can always talk. Like I do. It just brushes right off my shoulder. Like, you're gonna get hate regardless. There's always gonna be the haters out there. But the thing is, like, anyone can talk smack. That's great. But let's see them get on their own channel and build themselves up and put out their builds and their stuff and what they would do. Because, you also get the people like, oh, well, I would run this or that and blah, blah, blah. And that's fine. Some of them are great ideas when they put them on there. I'm like, oh, that's a good point. That's not what I ran. And everything's also based on your personality, your play style, and how you play the game. And, you know what I mean? Like my builds aren't going to work for everyone. Like, they're just not. Like, some people aren't going to like them, and they just might not work for them and their play style. But I also tell everyone in all my videos, like, it's also just a template. Like, you can build around this or switch stuff how you see fit and how you want to play with your play style. Like, but you're going to get the haters on there. And I mean, you put them on their own channel or any of that stuff, and we'll see how they go,
right.
Yeah, I think that's one of my favorite parts about ESO is, yeah, somebody can post a video with sets 1, 2, and 3, and these are my traits, these are my enchantments, all that type of stuff. But at the end of the day, when you go put it together, you're gonna fine tune it to your own play style. You might even change out a set or two and just make it your own, because the way you play is always going to be different from somebody else. Sometimes you can copy it 100% and play it the same way as the person who created it, if not better. But at the end of the day, you're gonna make it your own. And I think that's one of my favorite parts about just playing ESO in general.
Yeah, definitely.
I go.
good.
I'll go 30-0 in a BG on a build and then I'll be like, man, I need to do a build video on this. This feels really good. Like, I've tried a lot of things. This build feels good. I'll do a build video on it, and somebody will be like, that build's trash. And I'm like, I mean, I'm going 30-0 consistently, or 30-1. Like, I don't know what you're looking for, guy, but go find it somewhere else. Like, we don't need that type of negativity here.
Yeah, and that's just like I said, it's just haters, man. You're gonna get trolls on there and stuff, but it's just staying positive, and like it's the build is just the building blocks for the thought process of creating your build, or having somebody look at it. It's like I said, a template. Like, they can change whatever. They can even add another set, but you just put that template in front of them, the thought of, oh, this type of build and how it runs, and then they might be like, oh, well, if I use this set with that one of those sets with another set, like that might work to my playstyle better or fit me better or whatever. It's just to give them the initiation of the thought too, of what to run and how to run it if you want, or change it around.
Yeah. So what's your goals for your channel? What are your future plans? So we're on Twitch right now. You got a YouTube channel. How far are you taking this? What's your thoughts?
Well, honestly, I just started it because I like to have fun and just put out the builds out there and do it for the joy. I try to be positive. I mean, obviously, I want to get to 1,000 subs. I'm getting close, but if it goes bigger, then that's great. If it doesn't, I'm still fine with it. I just like creating the content and putting it out for people to see, and if they enjoy it, then they enjoy it. If they don't like it, then like we were talking about, they can watch it or not watch it, or get mad and leave a comment, whatever they want to do. But honestly, like I said, I just like to create the content, put it out there. I like to also show that, like, for people that are new and vets, that you can use older sets and stuff. It's just pretty much showing, like, I like my channel, I try to like structure it around, like, you don't need all the meta sets to have fun and be successful in PvP. Now, the meta sets are very strong and all that stuff too, but like, you can use older builds. Like, some people don't have access because they don't have ESO plus, or they don't have friends to go grind these dungeons with to get like these crazy proc sets and everything like that. So I try to put out simpler stuff that's still viable and works. And honestly, if my channel grows really big, that would be great. If it doesn't, then it is what it is. Like, either way, I'm still going to be happy. I'm a pretty positive and outgoing person, so I just like to have fun with the stuff. And if people have fun with me, then that's all I ask for.
Yeah, I haven't tackled doing the online streaming or any of that yet. I have a couple people that really want me to start doing that, but yeah, I might pick your brain on that moving forward. But are there any creators, whether it's people that stream or they're just using YouTube right now? Are there any content creators you like to watch? What do you like tuning into?
Well, like I said, Kirchhoff and Kuroki, I support their streams, and I love watching Kirchhoff, and Kuroki are both really good players, man. Their streams they try to keep them positive, like I do too. And like, it's like sort of become like a tight-knit sort of family community thing when everyone's in there. Most people are positive and they're not super negative. We do get the average trolls in there every once in a while, that are stream sniping and all that stuff. But for the most part, those two I love watching, and they've helped support my channel since, like, I don't know, a while back. Kurioki's been there since like my very first ESO build video coming back, and like, unfortunately, I don't like to admit this, but like I said, I'm honest. I put out a DK build, like, I don't know, 5 or 6 months, just coming back, and I didn't realize that like the whole meta was going towards the tank meta again and all this stuff. So it was like a 45k DK that had decent damage, and like, I'm not saying I started that whole meta thing. I don't know whether I did or not, but I'm just saying that, like, I made a build. It was a little bit cheesy, Malakath and all that when it came out. So, but Kuroki still supported me on the build. It's like, because I got a lot of haters on it. It got a lot of views, but he supported me throughout that video, and then on a bunch of other ones too. And same with Kirchhoff. He's been really supportive and helped my channel grow too. And I like watching them. King of Games, he always cracks me up. I love his videos, man. Like his rants and raves. They're pretty awesome.
Yeah. Icy and I, Icy and I were talking about that before. Like one of the first times I tuned into King of Games, he was talking about, you know, if three grown men wanted to have their way with another grown man, there was nothing that one guy could do to stop it.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
right. I know.
what am I watching right now? Like, what is this? You know? And I train professional athletes that, you know, compete in Bellator and the UFC and all this. And so I was listening to him say, you know, it doesn't matter what boxing, kickboxing, jujitsu, judo, it doesn't matter if that guy knew any of it. If they wanted, and I just couldn't. What an interesting topic while watching Elder Scrolls Online.
I know his analogies too and everything, man. It cracks me up. But you know, at the same time, he's a good guy too, though. And he even says, like, you know, he's like, yo, this is your game, you paid for it. You know, do what you want to do. And now if you catch grief or flack from people about it, then, you know, that's on you because you're running the stuff you want to run your way. But you know, he's got funny analogies and a good outtake on the game and stuff. And he tries to stay in the medium between all of it for the most part, from what I've seen. But another person that I actually, when I got on ESO, that I liked a lot, he doesn't YouTube anymore, but he was pretty big back in the day, was Delta's Gaming. Did you guys ever watch him?
Yeah, I love Deltia's Gaming. I miss him.
Dude, he was such a positive guy, like really cool. Yeah, he was pretty awesome. I liked his YouTube channel a lot and stuff. That was one of the guys that I watched when younger, along with Christopher. Christopher grew pretty big too. I remember when he was only at like 5K subs.
Yeah, Christopher ESO. Yep.
Yeah.
I miss Deltia's Gaming. He's actually somebody I'd really like to reach out to, just kind of see how he's doing, because I know he did the Gym Rat like series. I think that's what he called it. Basically, he was just going from transitioning from playing ESO and doing content to, okay, it's time to get in shape, take my life in control. And I thought that whole thing was really cool. I just want to check. I don't know him. He doesn't know me, but I still want to check in with him and see if he's okay and how he's doing.
He's pretty nice guy, man. I actually messaged him a couple times back in the day, and he actually replied to my stuff too, and a few other people that I know of. He was pretty cool, and he's a legit person. So I'm sure that if you reached out to him, he would probably come on the show and just talk about like old school ESO and how it was. And like, I mean, he was a really cool guy, man. He did group and solo play, and like, I mean, he didn't. He was like never negative about anything. Like he was positive about almost everything too, you know, and just he had a really good outlook on the game, really knowledgeable. He's a good dude.
Yeah, I might do that actually. I'm gonna reach out to him and see.
And I'm strictly speaking just on as in watching his videos. Like I don't know him personally, you know what I mean? So like I didn't mean to sound like I was best friends with him or anything, but yeah.
So can you tell us a moment where you felt like you leveled up, whether it be through content creating or your skill set in PvP? Is there ever a moment where you did something and you're like, wow, this is it. This is the moment.
So I think there's a few of them. So my name actually wasn't Fuzzy Jugernaut for the longest time. Most people wouldn't even remember my name from back in the day, but me and my buddy, when PvP really, really took hold, like I loved PvP, like I said, after that 8-month period or whatever. I was really into it, but when I got really good, is my actual first character was a Nightblade, Stanblade. Back when Stanblade was like not extremely hard to play, but like it required a lot of skill, you know. Not using the cloak or not using like shadowy disguise and all stuff, we used cloak. But me and my buddy would go into Cyrodiil and we'd be like 2v20, 2v30s. And back when it was a lot easier too. But and I remember when we were doing that, it was just, I was like, dude, there's no way. Like I wish I still had the clips. Unfortunately, I deleted them because I sold the PlayStation that they're on. But you know, it just like really opened my eyes to like the possibilities and the PvP aspect of it, and in the game to be able to do that. You know, it just I just like was completely blown away, and it just made me like 100% like this is the only game I'm going to play and the only PvP I want to do. And it was amazing. We also got a lot of hatred from people back in the day. It got a little toxic, like EP hated us and all the other alliances hated us, but it was what it was. Mostly that was due to my buddy. He was a low CP guy, but he was really good at dueling and 1vxing and would whoop a lot of the top tier people. I'm not going to say names, but they still play on PS4 right now, and they didn't like that. So they would get all mad and talk a bunch of crap. But regardless, the PvP aspect of it, that really opened my eyes when we were able to 2vx like big groups and hold keeps down just me and him on Nightblades. Now Nightblades have always been like some of the strongest class in the game, but still, it's hard to like take on 20-30 people with 2 Nightblades and a keep, so that was one of them. And then for my channel, I would have to say like my Witcher build, the gameplay I had for it was pretty horrible because I'd been doing a lot of Magicka builds, and so I went back on and I was like, hey, I had this great idea for when the new I can't remember the area that came out, but it was when the Witch Knight gear came out, whatever section that came out in. I think it was like 2-3 months ago. But I had a great idea.
Blackreach?
What was it? Yeah, I think it was Blackreach, right?
Or Western Skyrim, that type of area down there?
It might have been Western Skyrim up top, actually. Yeah, that's where it came out.
Yeah.
But I saw the set, and I was like, man, that could actually be really viable for a Stam DK and all that stuff. So I put it together and made the build, but I didn't have the greatest footage because I hadn't been on a stamina character. Getting a little rusty there. The other problem too is like I switched between multiple characters. I saw the Witcher set, and or the Witch Knight, and then I called the build like the Witcher build, and it does work really well. I had a bunch of buddies that used it that loved it and were just smacking people. But I even got one guy on my thing. He's like, "Great, awesome build, dude, love it, but you need to work on your PvP."
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, well, in all fairness, the clips weren't that great. It was like me and my buddy, and like, I mean, they weren't like bad or anything, like, but it just wasn't like my best PvP stuff ever. Like I said, I just started playing like stamina again, so I'm just getting back into it, and I'm also running on 3 megabytes internet too. Our internet is horrible here, so trying to play ESO. I'm lucky I can even play on ESO, honestly, with that.
Right. Jeez. So earlier you were talking about being a jack of all trades and stuff. I admire that because I think being a jack of all trades is important. I feel like for me it's important because I train people in PvP in the game, and so I need to know what every class is capable of doing, and what their rotations most likely are going to be, both for stamina and magicka. And in knowing that, you can prepare people a lot better, and half the people in their journey when they're starting out in PvP, they don't even know their own class yet or their own rotation or how to survive on it, let alone what everyone else is trying to do to them. So there's a lot of learning that needs to happen, but you're one up than everyone else by knowing every class and having a, intimate understanding of the class and play styles. So that's good.
Yeah, and it's important, man. Like I switch. The other thing too is like some friends of mine used to give me grief all the time. They're like, "Dude, how many characters are you gonna switch today? Like you've been on like 6 different characters today." I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, for me, I could be really good on multiple different classes. Like and some days I have really good days with them where I'm just annihilating everyone and like barely dying. And then I have days where I'm just like, I'm not feeling this character today, and I'm not doing that great on it, so I'm gonna switch it up. And I go to another character, and then I like that character. I'm playing good with him, and it honestly, and especially for teaching people PvP, like you said, what you're doing, that's awesome, dude. And you're not going to know exactly what your strengths and weaknesses are until you hop on, a few different characters and find out and what you like and prefer. Like, I am amazing in PvE on a Stamplar. Like I absolutely can shred. I can get like 96 DPS, which I don't know if that's like the highest anymore or not, but I can tear stuff apart, solo dungeons with it, solo arenas. You put me on a Stamplar in PvP. Actually, just this morning, I hopped on the Stamplar just because I've been trying to get the hang of it again. There's a few classes I'm not that great at, man. I was getting smacked, like just annihilated. Like PvP, I can't play on Stamplar that well. So but it's all about learning and pushing yourself too to understand the classes and get better at them. Like,
yeah. When I'm training people, a good analogy of that is a good craftsman knows how to use every tool in his toolbox, right? And some tool, he also knows which tool is the right tool for the job. And so on those times where you're running around, it might be getting a little sweaty. You might realize, hey, what I'm playing right now isn't a good fit for what I'm running into. But because I got other tools in my toolbox right now, I could easily switch over to that and have more success. So that's a next level understanding. And that's because you're a jack of all trades.
Yeah, I think you were in my stream the other night too, right? And unfortunately, that stream wasn't going the best. My internet was like going haywire for some reason. But me and my buddy, we were playing around, and a lot of time I solo, and then sometimes I have my buddy smaller, and he's a lower CP, but he's a really good player. And I don't remember I think I was on my Magplar in the beginning, but you joined in, and then we're getting just zerged down and stream sniped by those werewolf dudes and like some of the other players too. Not just werewolves, but a bunch of other players constantly. And so I was like, all right, well, since they want to keep zerging me down, I'll go to my spin to win warden then. Like, you got to know when to switch out too, because you like you said, it's just sometimes stuff's going to work and sometimes it's not, depending on what you're going up against. Like you got to be prepared and be able to play multiple classes to counteract stuff.
Yeah. Would you say because of performance issues right now with Cyrodiil that Imperial City is kind of your stomping grounds, you'd choose to go there? Or are there times where Cyrodiil, you can go there and it's not a problem?
So I think somebody asked me in my stream the other night, if I only play DC and then like you only go in IC and all that stuff. And so IC is my main pretty much. I love IC. I've been there also since it came out and started PvP. I love IC. It's a lot harder. Most people, I don't know, like some people shine away from IC because you're a lot up close and you've got to be able to dodge and kite around like, buildings and other things. And like, it can be a little bit stickier situation. Plus you got a lot of ads and bosses that can aggro and put damage on you too, which they can hit extremely hard. So you can get wiped out by them. But I mostly play in IC. If I go to Blackreach or the, Cyrodiil, I'll normally go during morning or day, where there's less people in there and the servers are less laggy. At night, it can be rough sometimes. If I do go in at night to Cyrodiil, it's only because IC is just overran. Like I said, I don't have anything against werewolves, but EP they have like Lycanthropy Rage and all them. They have like a lot of werewolf groups. Like his whole clan and everything's in there. So like we're talking like anywhere from 8 to 20 to 30 werewolves at times. Like, I mean, just zerging the whole place down, dude. And you can't get anywhere. And like I said, like you were talking about their speed, man, like you're not outrunning them. Like, so then it's dodging and kiting around walls. And like, I mean, dude, and then you're getting hit with like 6 howls and like, it's like a permanent CC that you can't get out of half the time. Like it's nuts. Like, so, and nothing against him. I'm not talking bad or any of that stuff. I'm just giving an example. Like there's a lot of werewolves. So when it gets like that, that's when you see like me or Kirchhoff and others, like we're like, all right, well, it's time to go to Cyrodiil because I'm not going to sit there and, just get zerged down the whole time. Like you're not gonna stop a group of 10 to 20 werewolves.
I'd like to see if you have like 20, 30 werewolves just, zerging the Imperial City. I'd like to see the rise of vampires, like just a group of 20 or 30 of them, and then we got the whole, underworld, trilogy coming to life, and just like this massive battle going on. I think that would be freaking awesome. But
yeah, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah,
I don't know if they'd beat the werewolves though, man. Werewolves pretty strong.
But I mean, yeah. I'd like vampires to, just get some buffs to put them on par with werewolves, because I think, I don't know the complete history of ESO, but if there was, lore wise, if historically there is a feud between vampires and werewolves, which I don't think there is, but I don't know. If there was one, this would be a freaking place to do it. Just massive 20 on 20 werewolves and vampires going at each other. I think that'd be pretty lit.
That would be actually pretty awesome, dude. My buddy, so I didn't even know lore and stuff. Like, for the longest time. My buddy, the two biggest supporters I have that actually helped me with my channel, and I should give them a shout out, which is Smaller and Doubles. They've helped me through like all this stuff too. But my buddy Doubles is like an ESO lore fanatic. Like he was getting mad at me because I didn't know like why certain areas were what, and like the whole lore behind them. And he's like, "Are you serious?" Like explaining the whole thing to me and everything. So, but yeah, that would be pretty awesome, honestly. I do feel that Vamp got really sort of put into the ground after that patch that Werewolf got buffed. So I definitely think they should try to buff it up a little bit. Like a lot of the abilities are laggy, and I at the same time, if you're level 3 or level 4, you can be like almost indestructible, but your abilities are going to cost a lot. But I've seen guys out there with builds that actually make it work on Magplar and a few other classes, and like they can take on a bunch of people with that. So
yeah, Icy said this before, but the best thing that came out of that vampire expansion was werewolves. So,
yeah,
true story. But so do you have plans for Mid-Year Mayhem, or what's your story? I guess you're going to put your running shoes on and just outrun the werewolves, huh?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna go in, man. I love fights and stuff. So most people are trying to avoid the werewolves. Here's one thing I also didn't explain. So like some people are a lot of, like even Kirchhoff says it, like people are scared to die, and so that doesn't mean necessarily the people that are running all the tank set stuff. I mean, a majority of them are, yes, but there's other people that just they're getting zerged down all the time. They're like, well, I need to be tanky to survive, but have some good damage, whatever. But on my streams, like most people stream like only the builds that the characters are really good at, and so they have like high chance of survivability and do a lot of damage. Me, I know it can hurt my channel a little bit, but I don't really care, man. Like I like to show people that like, dude, like all of us die. Like you're not invincible. You're going to die, especially when you run solo. It's just inevitable. And it takes a while to get a lot of the good clips, the 1vx clips, and I don't even have that many good 1vx's anymore. I'm still getting back into the game. It's only been 5 or 6 months for me. So but you're gonna die, and it's okay. And it's just that's how a part of the game. But on my live streams, like I die a bunch and come back, and then I beat people and get a couple of decent good clips, and like I go on characters that like I haven't played in months, and that I'm just working back into and putting stuff on them and going for it. So, but that's just me. I don't really care, but I just, I try to show people that it's all good and it's okay if you go out there and, die and get beat. It happens. And there's times where you get beat 1v1 too. Like people just have better skill or build, or it just didn't go your way. That's just how it goes. Like you're not going to be the best every single time.
Right. How we doing on time, Icy?
We got about 30 more minutes left.
Okay. So Mid-Year Mayhem, are you going to team up with anyone, or what's your thoughts? Are you going to try and get FaceTime on each one of your builds?
Maybe. I don't know. I've actually had quite a few people like wanting to group up with me and stuff. So I was thinking about actually for Mid-Year Mayhem, like do a group like once every couple of days. I really don't like running in groups, to be honest with you, but having like a small group of like 5 people, and a lot of them are randoms that are fans of mine or that are really cool and people that support the channel and stuff. So I was trying to be nice, and I was just going to put it out there and be like, whisper me, send me a message during Mid-Year Mayhem, and I can run a small group with some people, and we can run around in Cyrodiil and wreak havoc on some stuff, which I thought would be nice for other people. I'm not anyone special or any of that stuff, and I'm not super big, but it does feel nice to have fans that want to run with me and try to support them and show love back to the community and stuff. Like, I mean, it's not a big deal for me to start a little group every couple of days and have them run with me for a while. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and then I'm mainly, like I said, like we were talking before, is I'm just gonna be running on my characters that are low end in the PvP ranking. So they're all like level 14s, and I don't know, whatever. Try to get them higher up, since we get the double XP towards that.
So did you have any questions for us or any topics that you wanted to discuss?
Let's see here. can't find the paper, man. I had actually 2 questions I wanted to ask you guys. I can't remember what it was. I was up all night dealing with some stuff too. I apologize for that. Oh, you know what? I remember one of them. So how'd you guys actually get started into doing the podcast?
I guess
We-
this is it, right?
At some point, we should tell the actual story of the name too. I see.
Yeah, I guess the history of the three Skeevers.
Yeah, we should tell.
Before you start, the reason I asked is because honestly, I wasn't big enough to do this but I had an idea like this a long time ago, and I was like, man, that'd be cool if I could do that. I was like, some other dudes hopefully would start some stuff like that, and that'd be pretty cool to have a podcast and feature the content creators on it. And so that's why I was asking. I thought it was a pretty awesome idea if you guys doing this.
You still should do it. My recommendation is you should do it. So because it's really cool meeting these people and talking about things behind the scenes too, and getting to know a little bit more about them and their thought process and stuff. I really enjoy that, and it's cool because I was talking to people a couple days ago, and they're like, "How the heck did you get Grim Hollow, or is there no one else on your show?" And I'm like, I asked. I mean, that's it. I asked. I just messaged him, said, "Hey, we have a podcast. Would you be interested in being on it? Here are some potential topics." And they're like, "Heck yeah, sounds awesome." That's it. No magic to it. So I definitely say go for it.
That's pretty awesome, man. Yeah, I'll have to keep that in consideration, dude. But I really like you guys' stuff, man. And yeah, dude, you got really big names on here and everything. So I was really honored to be on the show, dude. This has been awesome. You guys are really cool, and I'm glad you guys started this thing because I've been listening to them and everything. It's awesome, really.
Thank you. You gonna tell the story, Icy?
Yeah, I'll try to keep it short and sweet for the most part because I don't want to get too dramatic. But so it took the event took place, I think, in February 2020. It was me and Grim. I was on my Nightblade, and he was on his. What was it? I think it was Old Man Kratos, his stand-in, and we were making our way to the AD base. And while he was, I was still, on my training wheels and stuff. So I'm like, Graham, I'll just head to the. I'll just head up the. I'll head towards AD base, ahead of you, just to scout and see what's up while he was clearing the trash mobs there. So I go ahead, I pass by the three Skeevers, I cloak so they don't take aggro, and staying in stealth the whole time. And then this dude comes out, just a lowbie guy, and he runs right by me, doesn't see me. I'm like, okay. So I'm like, hey, Grim, we got a guy coming on our way. So I follow him, and he pulls aggro from the three Skeevers and then heads into the tunnel to make the right. And then it's like a little I guess it's like a little horseshoe bend there. So I'm like, all right, Grim, let's as soon as he makes it out the other side, we'll just jump him at the same time and kill him. We'll send him back to base pretty quickly. So Grim's in position, ready to pounce, and I'm on my way there. And then as soon as I catch up to this guy, he's in that horseshoe bend fighting these Skeevers, and the Skeevers were winning. And as I'm telling Grim the story, I'm like, dude, you're not going to believe this, but this guy just died to three Skeevers. I have never seen anything like this happen where the easiest mobs to kill in the game wind up killing somebody. Unless you're AFK, that would be my only, I think, excuse or something. But this guy was straight on going full on out, and he died to three Skeevers. And so at that moment, when I think a couple months had gone by, and we were talking about putting the podcast together, and I said, well, it's got to be something that's Skyrim or ESO lore related, kind of like the Bannered Mare or the Winking Skeever kind of thing, and also something that me and him both have experienced together running in the sewers, because we want to make it mostly about the Imperial Sewers and city, that type of thing. And then I was like, why don't we call it the Three Skeevers, and and we just base it off that incident, where these three Skeevers mess some dude's day up, and we'll make them the our champions of the podcast. So,
Dude, that story just made my day. That is the best thing I have heard ever on this. This is amazing, dude. That
Yeah.
is hilarious.
So if you're outside AD base, the three Skeevers that are right outside AD base in the sewer, that's the three Skeevers. That's what the episode is. Our podcast is named after. Those three Skeevers literally killed a dude, and yeah, we were getting ready to jump the dude, and the three Skeevers killed him. And so now, and so some people will say, why is it called three Skeevers? There's only two of you, and then we're like,
Yeah.
well, there's a story behind it. Or if you look at our logo, it's got each one of the factions, red, blue, yellow, so there's the three Skeevers. So maybe it's that, but it's actually the three Skeevers that are outside AD base in the sewers.
Dude, that is honestly the best story ever, though. Like that's an amazing story for your name of the podcast, dude. Honestly,
Thanks.
Yeah.
awesome.
Icy did a really good job with it. So,
And I was gonna also just add one more thing. And with the whole Skyrim element, I think when you actually play Skyrim and you talk to, I think, any of the innkeepers or something, you can prompt them with a question like, "Hey, so where'd you come up with the name of the Winkin Skeever?" And then this guy will go in some elaborate story, and then it'll wind up with, "And then there was a Winkin Skeever right there." And I kind of wanted to take that element and just kind of bring it to this here with something that we both experience. So, but I do, whenever the groups that we're running in the sewers with, whenever we do come across, or on our way to AD, I'll say, all right, we'll kill these three Skeevers here. I'll just kind of slide it in there to see if anybody's gonna make the
Yeah.
connection. Like, oh, the three Skeevers. Oh, that's the podcast you guys did. Oh, wait, are these two connected? Maybe, maybe not. So, you go ahead, Grim.
That's awesome.
yeah, true story. That dude died to three Skeevers. So, do you have any wish lists for ESO? Like, nerf wolves, get rid of proc sets, add more proc sets, what's on your ESO wish list? If you could go back and make these put these on your Christmas list, what would they be?
I would have to say the health-based heals. Yeah, I know that affects the warden too, but it affects the werewolf, and I think they need to be just cut down a little bit there. That would be one of them. And then, like I said, I'm neutral on the werewolf. It's mostly the certain players that make it toxic. So I don't have too much on the werewolf besides the heals, and maybe like that guy said in that in the comment section that we were talking about earlier, with the resistances and all that stuff. Proc sets, I mean, I'm sort of neutral on that too. I mean, there's going to be, no matter what we do, there's going to be stuff that's abused in the game. So maybe having Malakath like not work with proc sets somehow, or like, dull it down a little bit. Although, I mean, Malakath makes proc sets so much stronger. So honestly, I mean, really it'd just probably be the health-based heals, and yeah, that's probably about it, honestly, for right now. Like I know, like I said earlier too, like some people need the proc sets, especially when they're getting in there. In my opinion, you don't need them, because the best way to learn is, just to rely on straight skill. But where we're at right now, I don't think proc sets are going away. So, maybe dumb them down a little bit. Like Icy Conjure is a little ridiculous, dude. Have you seen that set?
Oh yeah.
Dude, mine on my warden, I don't play with it, but I put it on, just testing it around and dueled my buddy. Mine is at like 32k damage, dude, over 10 seconds. It's insane. It completely melted him down. And then he was like, well, let me hop on my PvP tankier guy, like 40k health macro. Melted him. I put Battlestrand staff on with Icy Conjuring and Eternal Vigor and Balorgs, and I destroyed him in like a minute. Like it wasn't even he's trying to throw out heals and all this stuff, and macro has really good heals, man, but it absolutely annihilated him.
Yeah, that's I totally agree. I think that we've got people that are, as long as people are learning how to PvP properly, I'm not opposed to them wearing proc sets, but if they're crutching or leaning on proc sets and killing people or whatever, they're never truly going to learn. And so at some point they were talking about shortening the skill gap or whatever. Shortening the skill gap is not adding sets that do damage for free. That's the opposite. It becomes a crutch, and they still don't. That person still doesn't know how to PvP, and so yeah, it's very interesting. Do you have side note, because we're getting towards the end here? Do you have a really good Stam DK build that I could run and do a video on and say this is the fuzzy Jugernaut? Like, I'll name it after you. Like, I'll give you credit for the build. What's your most devastating Stam DK build?
Well, I haven't been on my Stam DK in a while, but I have one with the Witch Knight, like I said, and I think I was running Blood Spawn with Witch Knight, medium. Do you like play heavy or medium?
Normally heavy, because I think PC is a lot. Almost everybody right now on PC, for the most part, I'd say 90% are heavy armor. Even casters like Magdens and Mag Crows are moving to heavy, or have been in heavy. So,
well, you can use my Witch Knight build, man, and or my Witcher build. That's the one I put out, like, I think 2 months ago. I haven't really worked on Mag DK or Stam DK too much, so I'm actually just starting to get back into it. But that one's the Witch Knight, heavy armor. You can put Malakath. I have Malakath on it, and then it's like One Piece Tommy House or something, but you can put whatever you want on there with the Mal and Sword and Board. And I was hitting like 5.1k weapon damage, which is pretty nice when the sets. It is in a way a proc set, because you're getting 386 weapon damage, but it's by putting your poisons on your target. And since the DK, and since the DK has, there are 2 poison abilities that you're going to be putting on, the Noxious Breath and the Searing Strike. Not Searing Strike, is it? Venomous Claw.
Venom Claw.
Right? Yeah, Venom Claw. Putting those 2 on them, it automatically gives you that 386 weapon damage. Plus, if you put a weapon damage enchantment on the Mal and everything. So I think I was sitting at 5.1, something like that.
Nice. That's really good for having also Malakath's band and the immense dot pressure. Builds like that are applying so much dot pressure before they even start D-swinging on people, or spin to win, depending on what you're running. So.
Yeah, and if you want to rework it a little bit, man, go ahead, dude, and we can call it both of our builds. I'm not too worried about it, dude. Like, you're helping support me and all this stuff on here. So
yeah, my only thought on it was somebody had brought it up. They said, hey, builds play differently. The people build differently for console as opposed to PC, and vice versa. So a lot of builds that are viable on PC aren't so much on console, and vice versa. And I thought, well, you know what? Maybe I need to coordinate with Kirk or Fuzzy, get some of their builds that are super strong on console, and bring them over to PC, and let's see. Let's see where we're at with them. Maybe that's a good way to test. And likewise, if they take one of my builds and they play around with it and they say, yeah, it's not working over here, and we can hone in on the why that would be. But that was just my thought.
That's actually a really good idea. Yeah, man, I'm down too, and I'm in your Discord now too, so we can link up and switch some stuff around. And like I said, it's on my channel, so you can check it out. And if you can test it all out and make a video on it for PC too,
yeah,
you have my complete permission to do that, dude. Like, it's a really nice build, and you still get a lot of the damage. You know what I mean? Without any of the, because most people are using like New Moon or Seventh Legion and like all these other builds and sets right now. But I mean, I think it's a really slept on set, honestly, and it's new. It came out. It's pretty easy to get and farm. And I did have a buddy on PC that did use it, and he said it worked great. But he's not the best player ever, so it'd be nice to have somebody like you guys try them out, and vice versa. Me and Kirkhoff can try out your guys' stuff too. I don't know if Kirk will or not, because he doesn't have much stuff, but he has like a lot of gold and all that stuff, but I don't know if he'll have like the sets. He doesn't grind too much in PvE.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I could always.
He seems like he just wants to jump in and start swimming.
Yeah, well, he gets on late, so because he's got his 2 kids and his wife and stuff, which is really good. And he only gets like 4 or 5 hours a night, starting at like 8 o'clock Central Time, I think, or 7 o'clock. And so that he wants to use that for his PvP time. So like I'll help him out when he needs like lore books or other stuff. I helped him out the other night on a stream. So if he needs help with any of that stuff, I'll talk to him about it. See if I can just farm the sets and give him some of the stuff.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think the community needs to be like that, especially content creators. I had another content creator get on they left a post and they're like, such a crap build and stolen idea and things like that. And I'm like, I don't even know who this person is. Like, and I go to their YouTube and they're a content creator, but they have like 3 subscribers and like 60 videos, and I'm like, I'm not trying to steal anything from anybody. If he had that build or whatever, I think what a lot of people don't realize is there's nobody at this point is really going to come up with something original or unique, right at the onset of DLC coming out, when new armor is added, there's all these different possible, combinations that there could be. But the longer you're into that DLC, or the longer you're into that release, the less likely there's going to be new things out there. And so everything's just kind of repackaged and delivered, in a different flavor. So
yeah, and on top of that, I mean, dude, it's how much time it would take to go and look at all the content creators that are on there, including from lowest to highest, looked at and all that stuff. Like, it's almost impossible, man. You don't got time for that. You know what I mean? Like, if you happen to see the build before you make it, then if I see a build that I had an idea for, and I happen to see it randomly on YouTube, normally I won't put it out. But, it's like, I mean, it's not so much copying. Now, if there's people out there that are looking at people's builds and then, trying to say it's theirs and all that stuff. But for most part, you see the guys be like, hey, I got this build from somebody else, blah, blah, or like, it's got to be respectful about it. But I understand where you're coming from, man. That's,
yeah. I don't. And another thing too, is you start looking around too much, then all of a sudden, does it change your mind? You see something else, another out there that gets you thinking, and it turns you off the path of what you were wanting to do. So one thing that I started to do too was unique builds that I'm not saying that nobody's done this before, but a Bobo Stamplar. And I couldn't find anything on YouTube on Bobo Stamplars. And I'm like, well, I'm going to make a Bobo Stamplar. Like, if you want to play a Bobo Stamplar, it's hard to find anything on it. Here's my approach to it. Here's how I would attack a Bobo Stamplar. And so I did my green arrow. And then I was like, what about a Bobo Warden? Or what about a hybrid sorcerer? And so I did Thor, because there's people that, like Christopher ESO does really well with hybrids, but it's hard finding hybrid builds, like current hybrid builds in this current meta where we're at right now. And so I did the build video, and then at the end I did proof of life. I did BGs and showed the highlights of the BGs, like, so you could see the build in action. And so I've been like searching. I'll come up with an idea, and then I'll search to see if there's any current content in that realm. And if there's not, then I'm like, this is the video for me. Like, I'm going to make this video because there's not currently anything out there covering it, so.
Yeah, and that's completely viable. I've done that on a few things too. Like, I'll type in, some that I'm thinking of, and just to see and make sure that, within the top like 30 videos that there's not anything like that I haven't seen and stuff. And that's good, man, to be unique and create that stuff. Like, I made a Bobo DK build, and it didn't copy some other guy, but apparently some other guy had one like a week before me. Some guy's like, you're trying to copy this guy, and I was like, how am I copying him? So he sent me the link to the page to the guy's thing, and I never even heard of the dude. I think he had a lot of followers, but I checked this thing out. I was like, we're not even running the same thing. I was like, and I was like, this is the only other Bobo I've seen out there, for the DK at the time. So it's like, I think people just want to hate in general, but that's good, man, to be unique and create those cool builds. Those are really cool things, especially when you can get to learn and master them too.
Yeah. So we're at the end here. Did you have anything to add, Icy, before we find out all of his information?
Yes, my last question will be, would you ever consider switching or playing on PC? Because you can use because I play on PC, but I do use a Xbox or an Xbox 360 controller. So you can still use your controller, but would you consider coming over to PC?
Honestly, I would. I'd rather go to PC, but the problem is, man, is that the upkeep on a PC I heard can be excruciating sometimes. And now that depends on what kind of PC you get. I don't know a whole lot about PC, so I'm not gonna really say if that's true or not. But the whole fact that it sort of sucks we can't switch our accounts over. It's like you have to rebuild everything. But I could see myself. It would be definitely a possibility if I get a PC, honestly, because the problems that PlayStation servers and all that stuff have too have gotten pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, and I I was watching some of your videos and Kirchhoff's, and it just kind of I'm just like, ooh, there's no add-ons, there's no nothing. Like, how do you know what's going on?
Yeah, I know that's the other. So I know we're short on time, but my buddy actually played on PC, the one that got me into it too. He played on both, and I remember when I saw him playing on there, I was like, dude, what? I was like, it tells you when the incoming damage and like all this other stuff, and like it like laid out everything for him. I was like, that's pretty awesome, dude. Like, you guys have a lot more on PC too. Like even with even showing you your penetrations and all that stuff, like we have to calculate all of our stuff on PS4. Like, not all of it, but most of it. Like,
Yeah. You know what would help you? You use the laptop or use your PC for ESO build editor. At least put your builds together on that, and it'll show you your pen and everything else and what your tooltips should be. And if you calculate Malcast band, and I don't know if it works properly on console, but on PC it doesn't calculate a lot of weird things. So
yeah, somebody showed me that actually a couple months ago, and so I started using it instead of grinding for all the sets and all this stuff. And then,
yes.
dude,
Oh my
it's it because that's what was killing me. Like with me and my wife, is that like I had to get home and I'm like, shit, I had to get this set because I got to try it out and put it with this one, and that's not the only set. I had to get like 6 different sets and then put them together, and then what I mean, like infusing them and doing all these other things and wasting so much time, money, and resources and stuff, dude. And I was just like, and then some guys like, dude, there's a editor on the build editor on online. And I was like, oh wow. So
yeah, it saved me a lot of gold. So how can people find you? We're going to put these links in the descriptions below, but we're looking on YouTube, we're looking on Twitch, and do you have a Patreon? What are all the different ways people can find you right now?
So YouTube and Twitch, just Fuzzy Jugernaut, and I don't have a Patreon yet. I have the Twitch thing, but I'm just starting to go on Twitch. I didn't have I wasn't saving my content. Apparently, I didn't know you had to do that with Twitch. Like you have to highlight it. And so Twitch and YouTube are my main two. I have, I think my wife created me some accounts for some other stuff, but it's just social media platforms. But mainly it's just Twitch and YouTube. You can just type in my name. Should be able to come right up. That's about it, honestly, for that. And besides, let's see here. I think I have a Twitter and an Instagram, but I haven't been going on those, honestly. So
you'll have to tell your wife I'm giving her a high five. I love the level of support that she's giving you, and like how supportive she is of this adventure. Like that is for me with athletes. The athlete always needs the support of the significant other to accomplish anything great. And hearing that she's supporting you and doing things for you and wishing you well, it goes very far.
dude, yeah, my wife's awesome, man. She supports me through all this stuff. She's she's set up a lot of. I actually earlier I couldn't even get the Discord. It made me sign into like some other side of the Discord, and I couldn't get back to my actual account. And I'm like, and I'm not stupid with electronics and stuff, but I was just like, because we just set up the PC and everything, and so she was helping me out and like got it all set up. And she's pretty awesome, man. She helps me and she helps make my accounts and stuff for me. So she's been really supportive, and it really makes a difference having a supportive spouse and significant other. So
yeah, that's awesome. High five to her. All right, that's it. What do you got, Icy?
Nothing else. So with that, we'll catch you guys on the next one. See ya.
awesome. Thank you for having me.
Yep. See you guys. You're gonna say bye-bye, Argonians.
Bye bye, Rogonian.